The day I loved you and lost myself. I still remember the exact moment my life split into before him and after him. It wasn't dramatic, not like the movies where a girl bumps into a stranger and suddenly the world shifts. No, for me, it happened in the quietest, most ordinary way, on a cloudy Tuesday morning, with a half-warm cup of coffee in my hand and a headache blooming behind my eyes. I worked at a small publishing house tucked between a flower shop and an old barber who never smiled at anyone except stray cats. My life was predictable, peaceful, repetitive. I woke up, drank coffee, went to work, proofread manuscripts, came home, reheated something frozen for dinner, watched a show I never finished, and went to sleep. I didn't complain. Predictability felt safe. I didn't realize then how much loneliness I had accepted as normal. That morning I was running late, of course. My umbrella was broken, the sky was threatening rain, my hair refused to cooperate, and I had spilled coffee on the sleeve of my sweater. Everything was a mess. And then I collided with him. Literally collided, like two human disasters crossing paths at the wrong time. My bag fell, papers flew, and somehow his phone tumbled right into a puddle. I gasped, embarrassed, and mumbled apologies, kneeling to pick up my things. He laughed, an easy, warm laugh that made me look up despite my mortification. "I'm sorry. I wasn't watching where I was going," he said, brushing raindrops from his jacket. No, it's my fault," I insisted. "I'm always in a rush." He extended a hand. "Daniel." "Emma," I said, shaking it. And for a moment, just a moment, everything felt lighter. He picked up my papers with surprising care, aligning them neatly before handing them back. The rain drizzled lightly around us, soft and harmless. "You work at Maple Publishing, right?" he asked, nodding toward the building. The question startled me. "Yes. How did you know?" He pointed to the stack of manuscript pages I was trying to stuff back into my bag. "I've seen those covers before. They're distinctive." He smiled again, and something inside me fluttered, unfamiliar and confusing. "Well," he said, stepping back, "I hope your day gets better, Emma." I wanted to respond, but he was already turning away. I watched him disappear into the gentle morning rain, a stranger whose name shouldn't have mattered. But it did. More than I realized. The next day, he came into the publishing house. At first, I thought it was a coincidence. He dropped off a manuscript for review, spoke politely to the receptionist, then noticed me at my desk and waved with that same warm smile. "Hey," he said, leaning slightly over the counter. "Rough day today, or is the universe being kind?" I blinked. Surprisingly kind. "Glad to hear it." He left soon after, but something strange happened. I found myself smiling for no reason the rest of the day. And the next morning, when he showed up again, carrying a wrapped package, I felt my pulse do something ridiculous. "I brought peace offering," he said, placing the package on my desk. I opened it and laughed. It was a brand new umbrella. "You don't have to." "I insist," he said. "Consider it insurance in case we collide again." We talked a little, not much, just light, comfortable conversation. But it felt different, like warmth settling into a room that had always been cold. Over the next few weeks, Daniel appeared often, sometimes with a manuscript, sometimes with coffee, sometimes for no reason at all. And somehow, without warning, he became a part of my everyday life. I didn't question it. I didn't worry. I didn't guard myself. I just let him in. The first time he asked me out, it was raining again. "Are you busy after work?" he asked, holding 2 coffees. "Not really," I said. "There's a place near the river. Great food, bad music, perfect atmosphere. Join me?" I almost said no out of instinct. I had a habit of avoiding anything that might hurt later. But something inside me nudged me forward. "Yes," I said softly. Dinner turned into a long walk. The walk turned into 3 hours sitting beside the river talking about everything. Childhood dreams, fears, stupid decisions, books we loved, books we hated, memories that shaped us. He was gentle, funny, smart, sarcastic at exactly the right moments, soft in ways that surprised me, and I found myself opening up without hesitation. We talked until the city lights flickered and the river reflected streaks of gold. "Emma?" he whispered as we walked back. "Hmm? I really like spending time with you." I looked up at him, and for the first time in years I allowed myself to feel something real. "I like spending time with you too," I admitted. He took my hand, warm, steady, careful. And in that single touch, my heart surrendered before I even realized what I was doing. We weren't perfect, but we fit. The weeks blended into months of soft, easy love. He'd show up at my apartment with flowers he couldn't name. He'd leave long notes under my door that made me smile all morning. He kissed me like I was something fragile he didn't want to break. He held me like I was something precious he didn't want to lose. For the first time in my life, I felt chosen. I didn't question his strange disappearances sometimes, hours, sometimes days when he'd go quiet without explanation. I chalked it up to work or stress, or maybe he just needed space. Love makes you blind. Not fully blind, selectively blind. The red flags were there, I just didn't want to see them. The first time he went missing for a full week, I panicked, called him, texted him, waited. Then he suddenly appeared at my door late one night looking exhausted. "Hey," he whispered, as if he hadn't been gone for days. "Where were you?" I asked, voice trembling. "I'm sorry. I needed time. I'll explain soon, I promise." He didn't explain, but he held me so tightly that I didn't push, didn't insist, didn't question. Because that's what love does. It makes you believe excuses that sound like promises. Months passed. We became inseparable again, until suddenly, he wasn't. I still remember the day everything cracked. He came to my apartment early, too early. His eyes were red, his hands shaking slightly. I thought maybe something terrible happened at work. "Emma," he said quietly, "I need to tell you something." But instead of explaining, he paced, and paced, and paced. "Daniel, you're scaring me," I said. He stopped. "I'm leaving." My breath caught. "Leaving what?" "Everything. The city, my job, my life here." I stared at him, feeling the ground tilt under me. "Why?" I whispered. He shook his head. "I can't tell you. Not now." "Did I do something?" "No," he said quickly, grabbing my hands. "You're the best thing in my life. That's why I have to go." It made no sense, but heartbreak rarely does. "How long?" I asked, voice cracking. "I don't know. Maybe long." "Daniel, please, explain." He pulled me into his arms, holding me as if he was trying to memorize me. "I love you," he whispered, voice trembling. "God, I love you so much, but you can't wait for me. Promise me you won't." "No!" I cried. "You don't get to disappear again. Not like this. Not without telling me why." He kissed my forehead, shaking, breaking. "Please forgive me someday," he whispered. Then he walked out the door. And this time, I didn't chase him. I couldn't. I sank to the floor and cried until morning. The months after he left were blurry. I worked, ate when I remembered, pretended to smile, pretended to be fine. But inside I was empty. He had taken too much of me with him. Nights were the worst. I'd lie awake wondering if he was safe, if he was alive, if he still thought of me. I hated him for leaving, but I hated myself more for loving him still. I tried moving on. Half-hearted dates, awkward conversations, forced interest. But no one felt like him. No one made me laugh like him. No one held my heart the way he did. A year passed. He did not return. Not a single call, not a single message. Just silence. I convinced myself he was gone forever. I learned how to function again, how to breathe without thinking of him, how to live in a world where he was only a memory. Until one night, everything changed. It was raining. Of course it was raining, like the sky remembered us even when we didn't remember ourselves. I was locking up the office late, the street nearly empty, when someone said my name from across the road. Emma? My body froze. He stood there under a flickering streetlight, soaked, trembling, thinner than I remembered. His hair was longer, his face tired, but his eyes, those warm, familiar brown eyes, were unmistakable. My heart didn't know whether to race or break. He stepped forward slowly, as if afraid I'd vanish. "Hi," he whispered. I didn't move. "You disappeared for a year." "I know. Why are you here?" He swallowed, his voice cracked. "Because I survived." My breath caught. "What?" He looked down, tears mixing with the rain. "I had cancer, Emma. Aggressive. The doctors didn't think I'd make it. I didn't want you to see me like that. I didn't want you wasting your life caring for me while I was dying." Each word stabbed deeper than the last. "You idiot," I whispered. "You stupid, selfish idiot." He nodded slowly. "I know. Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you let me choose?" "Because I loved you," he said. "Too much." The rain fell harder. My tears fell with it. "I wanted to come back sooner," he whispered, "but I was scared. I didn't know if you'd still want me. I didn't even know if I'd be the same person." I wanted to scream. I wanted to hug him. I wanted to hate him. I wanted to love him. But most of all, I wanted to stop hurting. "You broke me," I said softly. He closed his eyes. "I know. I spent months wondering if you were dead." "I know. I hated myself for caring." "I know."